I never thought I'd be in this situation, but here I am.
I'm Jack, 52M, a construction worker, and I've been married to my wife Sarah, 49F, for 25 years.
We have 2 children together, Emily, 22F, and Max, 19M. Our life was pretty normal until about 5 years ago when I found out I had a son from a previous relationship. To understand how I got here, I need to go back to the beginning. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the youngest of 4 boys. My dad was a factory worker, and my mom stayed at home. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I was always the rebel of the family, constantly getting into trouble and pushing boundaries. When I was 18, I decided I'd had enough of small town life and moved to the city. Those first few years were tough. I bounced from job to job, barely making enough to pay rent. But I was young and free, and I loved every minute of it. That's when I met Olivia, 23F at the time. She was a waitress at the diner where I grabbed breakfast before my shift at the construction site. She had these bright green eyes and a laugh that could light up a room. We hit it off immediately. We dated for about 6 months, and it was intense. We were young, carefree, and madly in love, or so we thought. Looking back, I realize it was more infatuation than love. We were both running from our pasts and found comfort in each other. Then came the night that changed everything. Olivia told me she was pregnant. I panicked. I was 24, barely making ends meet, and suddenly faced with the prospect of being a father. I did the worst thing possible, I ran. I told Olivia I couldn't support her or the baby, packed my bags, and left town the next day. It's the biggest regret of my life. I tried to forget about Olivia and the baby, throwing myself into work. A year later, I met Sarah. She was different from anyone I'd ever known, kind, patient, and grounded. She helped me grow up, to become a better man. We got married after 2 years of dating, and I thought my past was behind me. Sarah and I built a good life together. I worked my way up in construction, eventually becoming a site manager. Sarah pursued her passion for teaching, becoming an elementary school teacher. We had Emily when I was 30, and Max came along 3 years later. Life was good, and I was happy. But my past was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Every year on what would have been my child's birthday, I'd find myself wondering about them. Were they healthy? Happy? Did they hate me for abandoning them? I never told Sarah about it, afraid it would ruin what we had built. Then, 5 years ago, everything changed. I received a Facebook message from a young man named Ethan, 23M. He claimed to be my son and wanted to meet me. I was shocked and scared, but I agreed to meet him. When I saw him, there was no doubt he was my son. He had my eyes and my smile. Ethan told me that Olivia had raised him as a single mother. She had moved back to her hometown in Indiana, where her parents helped her raise Ethan. She never married, dedicating her life to her son. Ethan spoke of her with such love and admiration that it made my guilt even worse. He told me she had passed away a year ago from breast cancer. In her final days, she told Ethan about me and gave him some old letters and photos. He had spent the last year piecing together who I was and gathering the courage to reach out. I was overwhelmed with guilt and shame. That night, I told Sarah everything. I expected her to be furious, to throw me out, but she surprised me. She was upset, yes, but more than that, she was compassionate. She held me as I cried, apologizing over and over for keeping this secret. We stayed up all night talking, and by morning, we had agreed that we should try to get to know Ethan. We invited Ethan over for dinner to meet the family. I was a nervous wreck that day, pacing the house and checking the clock every 5 minutes. Sarah was calm as always, preparing a feast and assuring me everything would be okay. When Ethan arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Emily, always the social butterfly, tried to break the ice with questions about Ethan's life and interests. Max, on the other hand, was sullen and quiet. He barely spoke during dinner and left the table early. Sarah kept things going with pleasant conversation, but I could tell she was struggling too. Over the next few months, Ethan became a regular part of our lives. He'd come over for Sunday dinners, and we'd catch up on lost time. I learned that he was studying to be an engineer and working part-time at a local bookstore. He was smart, kind, and everything I could have hoped for in a son. He told me about his childhood, about Olivia's struggle as a single mother, about his dreams for the future. With every story, my admiration for Olivia grew, as did my regret for not being there. But as Ethan and I grew closer, I noticed my relationship with Max deteriorating. He became distant and argumentative. When I tried to talk to him about it, he accused me of replacing him with Ethan. I assured him that wasn't the case, but he wouldn't listen. Max had always been a sensitive kid, more interested in art and music than the sports and outdoor activities I enjoyed with Emily. I realized with a pang that I had never really known how to connect with him, and now he felt like he was losing me to a brother he never knew he had. Sarah was also struggling. She put on a brave face, but I could tell she was hurting. She'd sometimes leave the room when Ethan and I were talking about his childhood, and I'd find her crying in our bedroom later. One night, she confessed that hearing about Olivia made her feel insecure, wondering if I had settled for her after losing my true love. It broke my heart to hear her doubt herself, and I spent hours reassuring her that she was the love of my life. Emily, surprisingly, was the one who adapted the best. She and Ethan hit it off immediately, bonding over their shared love of books and travel. She would often invite him to her college campus, proudly introducing him as her big brother. Her acceptance was a bright spot in the otherwise turbulent situation. Things came to a head last week. We were celebrating Ethan's 28th birthday at our house. The whole family was there, including some of Ethan's friends. Max showed up late, clearly drunk. He stumbled into the living room and started yelling at Ethan, calling him an intruder and accusing him of ruining our family. I tried to calm Max down, but he pushed me away. He stormed out of the house, nearly hitting Sarah's car as he sped away. Ethan was mortified and left shortly after, despite our protests. The party disbanded quickly after that, leaving Sarah and Emily in tears and me feeling like I had failed everyone. The next day, I tried to talk to Max, but he wouldn't answer his phone. Emily told me he was staying at a friend's house and didn't want to talk to me. Ethan called to apologize, even though none of this was his fault. Sarah was quiet, lost in her thoughts. Now, I'm torn. I love all my children, but I feel like I'm destroying my family by trying to make up for my past mistakes. Max won't return my calls, Emily is caught in the middle, and Sarah is becoming more distant every day. I don't know how to fix this. I can't abandon Ethan again, but I can't lose my family either. How do I balance being a father to all my children without hurting anyone? Has anyone been in a similar situation? Any advice would be appreciated. First update, it's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It's been a challenging time, but we're slowly making progress. After the disastrous birthday party, I knew I had to take action. The first thing I did was reach out to Max. He ignored my calls and texts for a week, but I kept trying. I even went to his friend's house, but he refused to see me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he agreed to meet me at a local diner, the same one where I used to meet Olivia all those years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. When I saw Max, my heart broke. He looked tired and defeated, with dark circles under his eyes and his usual neat appearance disheveled. We sat in silence for a while, both of us staring at our untouched cups of coffee. Finally, he spoke. He told me he felt like he was losing his place in the family, that Ethan was the son I always wanted, smart, into sports, studying engineering. He felt like he could never measure up. As I listened, I realized how much I had missed. Max talked about feeling pressured to live up to Ethan's accomplishments, about his struggles in his art program at college, about feeling like he was disappointing me by not being more masculine. He admitted that he had started drinking more, trying to numb the pain and insecurity he felt. When he finished, I apologized. I told him that I had been so focused on making up for lost time with Ethan that I neglected to consider how it was affecting him and the rest of the family. I assured him that he was irreplaceable and that I loved him just as much as I always had. I told him how proud I was of his artistic talents, even if I didn't always understand them. We talked for hours, really talked, in a way we hadn't in years. After our talk, Max agreed to come home. We had a family meeting, minus Ethan, where everyone got a chance to express their feelings. Emily admitted she felt guilty for being excited about Ethan when the rest of the family was struggling. She had always wanted a big brother, and Ethan filled that role perfectly. But seeing Max's pain made her question whether she had the right to be happy about the situation. Sarah's confession hit me hard. She told us that she felt like an outsider in her own home sometimes, especially when Ethan and I talked about his childhood. She admitted to feeling jealous of Olivia, even though she knew it was irrational. The idea that there was this whole life I could have had, this other family, scared her. She was afraid of losing me, of being second best. We decided to set some boundaries. We agreed that Ethan would come over once a week for dinner, rather than multiple times a week. We also planned some one-on-one activities. I'd go to an art gallery with Max, help Emily with her job search, and Sarah and I would have a weekly date night. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. I then met with Ethan separately to explain the situation. I was nervous about how he would react, afraid that he would feel rejected once again. But Ethan surprised me with his maturity and empathy. He listened carefully as I explained the strain his presence had put on the family, nodding in understanding. When I finished, he suggested that he could spend some time getting to know Max and Emily individually, without me present. He thought it might help if they could form their own relationships with him, separate from me. We're taking small steps, but things are improving. Max is talking to me again, and he even asked for Ethan's advice on a school project. Apparently, Ethan's engineering knowledge is useful for some of Max's more technical art installations. Sarah seems more relaxed, and we're communicating better than we have in years. Last week, she even suggested inviting Ethan over for a movie night, something that would have been unthinkable a month ago. Emily has been my rock through all of this. She's been mediating between Max and me, encouraging Sarah to open up, and making sure Ethan still feels welcome. I'm in awe of her strength and compassion. As for me, I'm learning to balance my responsibilities to all my children and my wife. It's not easy, and there are days when I feel like I'm failing miserably. But then there are moments, like when I see Max and Ethan laughing over a shared joke, or when Sarah squeezes my hand as Ethan tells a story about his mom, that give me hope. I know we have a long way to go. Years of hurt and secrets don't heal overnight. But for the first time in months, I feel hopeful about our future as a family. All of us, together. I'll keep you updated on how things progress. Again, thank you all for your support and advice. It's made a world of difference. Second update, it's been 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments. Things have been mostly positive, but we hit a significant bump in the road recently. The good news first, our new family dynamic has been working well. The weekly dinners with Ethan have become something we all look forward to. Max and Ethan have been getting along better, bonding over their shared interest in video games. Last month, Ethan even attended one of Max's art shows, proudly telling everyone that his little brother was the artist. The smile on Max's face when he heard that was something I'll never forget. Emily and Ethan have become close too. She even convinced him to join her volunteer group at the local animal shelter. They spend their Saturdays walking dogs and playing with cats, often coming home with stories that have us all laughing at the dinner table. Sarah has been more comfortable with Ethan's presence in our lives. She and I have been going to couples counseling, which has helped us communicate better and work through her feelings about the situation. Last week, she surprised us all by asking Ethan to teach her how to make Olivia's famous apple pie. It was a bittersweet afternoon, filled with laughter and a few tears, but it felt like a turning point. However, last week, we had an unexpected visitor that threw our fragile peace into chaos. Olivia's sister, Karen, 47F, showed up at our door. I hadn't seen her in nearly 30 years, and her appearance shocked us all. Karen explained that she had only recently learned about Ethan's connection to me. She had been living abroad for many years and had lost touch with Ethan after Olivia's death. When she returned and reconnected with him, she was furious to learn about my sudden reappearance in his life. Karen was angry, and rightfully so. She talked about how hard Olivia had worked to raise Ethan alone, about the sacrifices she had made. She demanded that I compensate them for years of missed child support, threatening legal action if I didn't comply. This threw our household into turmoil. Sarah was upset that this part of my past was causing more trouble. She retreated into herself, spending hours in the garden and barely speaking to me. Max retreated to his room, refusing to talk to anyone. I could hear his music blasting at all hours, a sure sign he was struggling. Emily tried to play peacemaker, but she was clearly stressed by the situation. I could see the toll it was taking on her, the dark circles under her eyes a testament to sleepless nights. Ethan, who wasn't present when Karen arrived, was horrified when he found out. He called me immediately, apologizing profusely and assuring me he had nothing to do with Karen's demands. He offered to talk to her and sort things out. I appreciated his offer, but I knew this was my mess to clean up. I contacted a lawyer to understand my legal obligations. The lawyer advised me that while Karen couldn't force me to pay backdated child support, especially since Ethan was now an adult, there could be some moral obligation to consider. This sparked a series of long, emotional conversations with Sarah. We argued, we cried, we talked in circles. But in the end, we came to a decision together. We decided to set up a college fund for Ethan. It wouldn't make up for the years of absence, but it felt like the right thing to do. We also agreed to help with any outstanding medical bills from Olivia's cancer treatment. It would mean tightening our belts for a while, possibly delaying our retirement plans, but we both felt it was necessary. When we presented this offer to Karen, she was initially resistant. But after a long conversation where I sincerely apologized for my past actions and explained how I was trying to make things right, she softened. She shared stories about Olivia and Ethan that made me laugh and cry in equal measure. By the end of our talk, she agreed to our proposal and even thanked us for stepping up. The aftermath of Karen's visit has been tough. Max is still distant, spending more time at his friend's house than at home. Sarah is struggling with the financial implications of our decision, and I can see the worry lines on her face when she thinks I'm not looking. But Ethan's reaction gave me hope. He was moved to tears when we told him about the college fund, saying it would help him pursue his master's degree, something he thought was out of reach. We're not out of the woods yet, but I believe we're on the right path. We're facing our problems head on as a family, and that's all I can ask for. There are moments when it all feels overwhelming, when I wonder if we'll ever feel like a normal family again. But then I'll catch a glimpse of Sarah and Ethan laughing over a shared joke, or I'll overhear Max asking Ethan for advice on a girl he likes, and I know that we're going to be okay. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thank you all for your continued support. Third update, it's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm happy to report that things have significantly improved in our family. The college fund we set up for Ethan has been a turning point. He started his master's program last month, and his excitement is contagious. Every Sunday dinner is now filled with stories about his classes and projects. What's more, this act seems to have finally convinced Max that Ethan isn't a threat to his place in the family. Max even helped Ethan move into his new apartment near the university, spending the whole day carrying boxes and arranging furniture. It was the first time I'd seen them spend so much time together without any tension. Emily has been thriving too. She and Ethan have become incredibly close, and she credits him with giving her the confidence to apply for a promotion at work, which she got. Last week, she brought her new boyfriend to meet the family, and it was heartwarming to see how she introduced Ethan as her big brother without a second thought. Sarah and I are in a much better place now. The counseling has helped us immensely, and we've rediscovered the connection we had when we first got married. We've started taking dance classes together, something we'd always talked about but never got around to. It's been hilarious and romantic in equal measure, and it's given us something that's just ours amidst all the family changes. As for Karen, she's become an unexpected ally. After our initial confrontation, she reached out to apologize for her approach. We've had several good conversations, and she's shared stories about Olivia and Ethan's childhood that I treasure. Last month, she even joined us for Sunday dinner, bringing along old photo albums of Ethan growing up. It was a bittersweet evening, but it felt like a step towards healing for all of us. Last weekend, we had a big family barbecue. Everyone was there: Sarah, all 3 kids, Karen, and even some of Ethan's friends from his master's program. As I stood at the grill, watching my family laugh and talk, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. Max was showing Ethan and Emily his latest art project on his tablet, Sarah and Karen were swapping recipes, and for a moment, it felt like this was how it had always been. There are still challenges, of course. We're navigating holidays and family traditions, figuring out how to include Ethan without overshadowing long-standing family customs. Last Christmas was a bit awkward as we tried to balance everything, but we're learning. We're planning a family vacation for next summer, our first with Ethan, and while it's exciting, it's also bringing up some complex emotions for everyone. Financially, things are a bit tight with helping Ethan with his education, but we're managing. Sarah and I have had to postpone some home renovation plans, and we're being more careful with our spending. But seeing Ethan thrive in his program makes it all worth it. I know this journey isn't over. We'll face more hurdles as time goes on. There are still days when Max gets quiet and withdrawn, or when Sarah looks at old pictures of Ethan with a hint of sadness in her eyes. I still struggle with guilt sometimes, wondering how different things might have been if I'd made different choices all those years ago. But I'm no longer afraid of what's to come. We've weathered the storm, and we've come out stronger on the other side. We're not a perfect family, far from it, but we're a real one, with all the messiness and love that entails. Thank you all for your support throughout this process. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable. To anyone facing a similar situation, hang in there. With patience, love, and open communication, it is possible to heal and grow as a family.